Terminator Resistance was an awesome surprise when it came out. It nailed the look, sound, feel, and especially care that I wanted to see from an adaptation of Terminator. Plus, after the most recent film at the time, Dark Fate, spat in the face of longtime fans, Resistance embraced them and made something very much for them. It was an original story with plenty of fan service, and again from a developer that made a Rambo title that could have been a lot better. Resistance was a redemption of sorts. Critics at the time hated it and bashed it. As a game, it was solid, and then elevated further by its respect for the source material, something most big names in the game's media honestly just don't get. But either way, it seemed like this team wasn't going to stop here, because last year they announced a Robocop game, and today I wanted to discuss all of it. The new gameplay trailer for Robocop does give us a glimpse of what to expect, and it certainly keeps a lot still up in the air. Violence-wise, I think the gameplay will certainly deliver. I do like that it appears that you can pick up weapons from enemies, which means you will not be restricted just to the famous pistol. For aiming, it seems like there's an auto-type element to it, and this is one of the harder things to understand from the trailer. Is this how all of the shooting will be, or is this an ability that can be used to clear the field when you're overwhelmed? An element that really stands out to me, and something that I hope is a big part of the game, is the detective work. It seems like you'll need to do some exploring within the environments, finding clues to get to your objective. This could be a really engaging element for the entire package, along with great ways for the developer to properly set up combat encounters and have a nice build up to them. Now, being that this is made by the Terminator Resistance team, I wonder if any of those gameplay elements will pop up here in a new way. For example, will Robocop have any type of progression? Terminator Resistance featured experience points, leveling, and skill trees. Will they be similar to Terminator, or will the options be even more in-depth, allowing for potentially different builds of the same character, even extending this with more replay value? Resistance featured an inventory system along with upgrades that could be made to some of your guns. I wonder if we'll see the same augmentation system or something like it to fit this universe. Now, one of the biggest questions is this a fully open world? The idea of having a true open world Robocop game does sound awesome, but two things lead me to believe we're not getting that. They have not advertised driving. They have shown it in what appears to be cutscenes from the game, but no driving mechanics. And if this was a fully open world title, it would be one of the leading things they would use in the marketing even early on. They would really play this up, and while I do like the name of the title, I think that will naturally lead people to thinking that this is an open world. Now, my best bet is that it will be similar to how the structure is in Terminator Resistance. More linear stages that are scripted or focused, with a mix of larger areas allowing for exploration and hopefully side missions. My hope is that we see something more along the lines of Deus Ex Human Revolution or Mankind Divided. A hub-like space that is rich and dense with areas to explore, discover, and fight through. Maybe we can even get a few sections of the city that we can travel between. Now, I do hope that I am wrong with it actually not being an open world game, because I would rather see an open world one for Robocop. If the developers could actually pull something like this off, I'd be really happy. But as of right now, I want to manage my expectations based on what they've decided to reveal. I don't want to unfairly judge this game or be amped up for something that is more in my head than what we're actually getting. To go along with this, I am curious how exploration will be featured in Robocop. Resistance had a lot of it, and it was very enjoyable. Lots of nook and crannies to find. What sort of stuff will we be finding in the city? In addition to this, will we see optional cases or side missions to complete? This is something too that would be a great way to help us get to know the city and the captured lives of the people that are stuck there. Resistance also had a set of choices that would alter aspects of the story. Will Robocop feature this and have different endings depending on the player's input? Something I really give this team a lot of credit for is that they managed to get Peter Weller to come back and voice Robocop. This was one of the best surprises with the first trailer. If a fan was to make a game based on a film, ideally you would want to get the actual actors to return to their characters. This is probably the one negative you could point out with Terminator Resistance, as there are no returning actors. But the game gets so much right that I can forgive them for that. But for Robocop, the developers are making a statement by getting Weller to come back. Simply put, this shows me that they really care. Like, if you're going to make a Robocop game, you need him. And as a tangent, I'm going to relate this back to Bond. During the PS2 generation, EA was on fire with quality Bond titles. Everything or Nothing was a stellar third-person action game. It captured all the variety of action sequences a player could be involved in, from fistfights, shootouts, chases, gadgets, tanks, and even free-falling and more. But most importantly, it not only saw them capturing the likeness of Brosnan, but they managed to get him and many of the other expected characters to voice their counterparts for the game. This effectively meant that this was an unofficial fifth and final film for Brosnan. From Russia with Love took this a step further and featured Sean Connery in his final appearance as Bond. It was a tribute to the classic era and the very first Bond. Critics at the time said Connery didn't sound like he did when he was younger, and this was easily one of the dumbest things I have heard from the game's media. At the time, he was older and he's not going to sound like he did, but I'd rather have the real guy rather than a sound-alike. Both of these games now can live on forever, and now we can go back to them and experience them just like with the films. By having both the voices and likenesses, it's like we are right there experiencing the adventure with the consistency from their respective Bond movies. This is what I immediately thought of when I saw Weller was coming back. Hopefully the game is good and fun, and now from the gaming medium we'll always have something to look back on to experience the genuine Alex Murphy.
Dead or alive, you are coming with me.
Now, having said all that, I'm wondering if the developers are using AI as a means to recreate Weller's voice. This might just be from what the footage they have shown, and it isn't much. And I understand that Robocop has a robotic nature to him, but the delivery in some spots does seem robotic. So I wonder if this was done by design from the voice acting director, or if they're using AI. I have no idea what the answer is, but I remember when they used it for Luke in some of the Disney Star Wars shows, it did seem like his voice was a little off. For the Robocop game, this could have just been a set of clips that sound this way in the trailers, and most of the performance sounds more normal in the full game. This is one area that we'll need to wait and see on. When it comes to a concern, I have one with the soundtrack. Some have mentioned that the Robocop theme or music has been missing from the marketing. I wonder if this is partially because the soundtrack for the game maybe isn't done. I would be surprised if these developers didn't use new variations on the iconic theme. They did so many tracks and variations for the Terminator theme in Resistance, so I hope they deliver that for Robocop. This is easily one of my most anticipated games of this year. At the same time, I'm trying to manage my expectations as there's still a lot unknown with this title. We haven't really seen anything extended to get a great grasp on how the loop is going to work. Best example of this is that the aiming does seem to be very automatic, but honestly this just could be an ability that you can unleash, and not something you do all the time. Will it be an open world, and how open will it be? Will it feature a similar structure to Terminator Resistance? I'm very much in support of this title, but I think when the developers are ready, they should show more. Now, it is important to not show everything, but it needs more so that we can have a better idea of how the entire thing plays. Maybe when the developers are ready, show off a portion of a level in a walkthrough type format. Now, will this be better than Terminator Resistance? I don't know. I do have a feeling that this will be another game that critics will not get, but fans will probably enjoy. Now, I throw it off to you. Are you looking forward to this title? What do you like and dislike about it so far? And I'm going to take the opportunity to shill Terminator Resistance just one more time. If you enjoy first-person shooters, you're probably gonna have a good time with it. And if you love the first two Terminator films, you're probably gonna love the game. The gameplay is a nice mix of scripted, more linear levels with larger ones that offer exploration and side missions. And there's some great set pieces that have the perfect track playing behind them. Anyone who has experienced the finale will know what I'm talking about. The expansion is really good too, as you get to have a nice side story with Kyle Reese. The entire package makes for a great third story to the first two films. If you haven't played it, I highly recommend it. And hopefully Robocop is just as good. If you're interested in being notified of new videos, please hit the subscribe button and bell. And if you would like to support the channel and get early access to content, please check out my Patreon. All of the links will be at the end of this video and within the description. And thank you very much for watching.